And the one striking thing that happened when we did it and afterwards people were talking is there were people in the audience who had seen it before or were knew the history, and then there were a lot of young people who just didn't know what Catonsville was and what it means to be that way. You know, and that's the people you want to, you know.
And that's what I was going to say is, speaking of the young people, that we had the opportunity to have two high school classes. So the theater was filled with high school students. And for myself, I was really worried that they were going to be chitty-chatty and how could they possibly sit still for this. And they were some of our best audiences. Their eyes were wide as saucers. They were just hanging on every word. They were amazing. And it was really interesting to me that they were so enthusiastic and hungry for the information.
It's quite possible that Obama doesn't know specifically about the case. So why don't we write him a letter?
We're going to Washington. Actually, we're going to Washington at some point. We're going to Maryland for sure, and Virginia. So maybe we'll grab some of the.
Who else has questions? Yes, sir.
Yes. This particularly, I want to hear about Roy Bonpane.
Well, Roy, of course, as everybody may know, has been having these gatherings at Fort Benning, Georgia, every year for a couple of decades now. And Roy has probably served at least 5 full years in federal prisons for his civil disobedience actions. And he draws some 20,000 people to Fort Benning, Georgia, every year to close the School of the Americas. And as a sideline, and as the fact that he was a priest, he was asked by a group of women to be present at the ordination of a woman priest. And you get things done in the world by doing them. So we don't have any women priests. Women receive 6 sacraments, men 7. So he was there at the ordination and gave the homily and certainly supported the idea of women being ordained. And shortly after that, he gets a letter from the Holy See saying you have 30 days to recant or you will be excommunicated. So I called Roy and we had a long talk on the phone. He said there was only one thing that worried me. He said that was my 95-year-old father. So he said I went down to Lutcher, Louisiana to talk to Dad, because Dad goes to Holy Communion 7 days a week and is a super Catholic. So he talked to his dad. His dad said, well, God took care of you after you got wounded in Vietnam. He took care of you when you were imprisoned in Bolivia, and when you were imprisoned in the United States. He'll take care of you now, don't worry about it. So that's all Roy needed. So he told the Holy See, lots of luck for your excommunication. And I was recently at a gathering in Cleveland for the formation of the National Peace Academy, which we're now in the process of designing. And 200 of us were involved there. And a woman came up to me and said, I'm from Vienna, and I am a Roman Catholic priest also. She had been recently ordained. That's what Gandhi told us, be the change that you want to see in the world. And many of us feel the same way about that with married clergy, etc. The best way to deal with that is simply get married, and I'll let them worry about it afterwards. The question of conscience that comes up in this play is critical, absolutely critical. And Catholics who've had an education know that the Pope is not a line officer in the military, that conscience is the final word in the Roman Catholic Church. If you have an act of conscience and the Pope disagrees, well, that's his problem. Many people don't understand that, but that is our actual theology.
Yes, sir.
In the interest of reaching a larger audience, I don't know, has anyone ever thought of like camcording this or something? I mean, it sounds, I mean, I don't know what the audience would
We will be.
expect.
We will be. Yeah. We're planning. It's just a matter of putting it together, but we are definitely going to be.
Could you kind of bring it into the school systems?
That's another possibility, but then we have to, you know, of course, there's union issues and payment and money issues and things like that. So, but what we are allowed to do is a nice archival version of it. We will be touring it, and we could use any venues you know that want to have us come. We could certainly.
High school.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, it is a good idea.
We have
We're-
time
we're-
for a,
We have those.
Carly, we have time for a couple, what? Couple,
Can
couple
I
more
just
questions.
say one thing?
Oh,
I want to introduce Melina Bielefeld, who was very vital to the production. She trained the actors physically in the physical movement, and was the lead movement director. And I don't know if you noticed the direction, but I'm sure some of you did, who are movement people. You know, there was a lot of, you know, all that movement in and out and getting into finding a position, and the strength of their centers was Melina. And the actors agreed to do it.
yes, two more questions,
Melina,
sir.
I have a quick question.
Oh, Melina, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought
that's
you-
okay. I wondered if you could talk about the movie a little bit, like how
Oh.
soon after you.
Well, you know, Melina and I worked on when I was trying to figure out the staging of it.
Yeah.
I had met with Gordon, and two things that struck me. And if you notice, there's a triangle shape on the.
Yes.
If you noticed, and you had mentioned that when we met, he had talked about how you had staged the reading. You know, where they had the judge at the peak and the two lawyers, and I went triangle, ding ding, and this thing went off in my head because I wasn't sure of the shape of the play. And I think when you showed me some of the diagrams of the set that you used, but when we started watching, you gave me the movie too. There was a movie, by the way, that
Yes.
Gordon directed,
Went to Cannes.
and it's
Wow.
quite powerful. And I was very moved by it. And what was moving to me about it was that the witnesses, the stands were very similar. We pretty much stole that design from the movie, except they were a little different color. But the witnesses seemed to, in the film, move all over through the space. They just kept there was a flow to where they moved and the way you moved the camera in and out that we wanted to I thought was very
Yeah,
powerful.
and intercutting of the footage too. Yeah, how soon after was the film from the production, stage production?
Pretty quickly after Greg Peck, who was a great man, had seen it, and he says, "We're going to make a movie of it." And we did it for $250,000, which is he raised it like you raise money for a play or something like that. And we kept the company together, and there were 8 days to shoot, so there were real limitations. And fortunately, the actors were so prepared for it that they could go and do their work. Haskell Wexler was